So the rules connected to how to collect documentation and so on, they are changing every year, and it's good to be on those webinars to spot those little changes. And yeah, it's the most useful probably to even be in the direct contact with the people that are later assessing our projects. And fun fact, they remember you by name. I was surprised. How much detail? Oh, no? Questions? And that's gonna be until 7. How much detail is too much detail? Depends, no? What do you want to put details on?
Okay, since this is my question, for instance, when drafting timelines or budgeting or exact things out of the implementation of the things you're promising, how much do I need to bore the examiner of when I'm gonna buy what, how I'm
This
gonna
you
start?
don't do at all.
Okay.
Regarding budgeting, enough for them to know is how much money are you entitled to, and that's it. You don't have to specify what exactly will you spend it on, because it's in K1s. In K2s you do, but it's different packages, work packages. So you can use flat rates from the previous editions of Erasmus Plus to be specific to the extent of those flat rates. So for example, there's work packages in K2, so in strategic partnerships for youth, in those kind of projects that organizations are collaborating together on delivering some innovation to the field or bringing some products that will be useful for everybody. And then the budget is constructed very differently from just mobility. Mobility is accommodation, food, and flat rate for that, per person per day, and travel money, and exceptional costs, and maybe in the individual support, inclusion support, and so on. So those are all based on flat rates. In K2, from 2 years, you have to design your own budget, dividing your scope of work to work packages, and at least 2. The default work package is management, and then you don't have to be more specific than we need 500 per month. And you can describe what will you spend it on. 500 per month for a coordinator. And
yeah, it's not just 500, it's 500 for coordinator and 250 for every partner.
Yeah.
Okay, and I freaked out. I haven't checked the new one yet.
The new one doesn't even have those.
But what I'm telling is to refer back to those, because this is the most justifiable amount. If you want to raise that because something, you probably have to justify it. So they have new mindsets, but they're still living in the previous programs.
So for justifying the expenses of your project, you don't need to specify what you spend your money.
No.
You just use general terms like accommodation, I don't know.
You want to?
From what I've understood, because I had a lot of talks with many different people about it the last few weeks, yes, you can justify it any way you believe that it's accurate, but they like to hear it in the way that they're used to, because it's easier also for them to not. If you justify it, I want 100 euros to buy these balls, it's really hard for them to understand why. And even if you write an essay for it.
But you don't put it into application at all. You don't put it into application. What are you going to buy?
Yeah, but you put it in, but you cannot just say, I want 3,000 euros just for that. That's
Yes.
what I understood.
Yes, and you attach it to the work package. And you specify what is this work package for, what are the results, and what are the general line of spendings. That's it. In K2s. In K1s, you don't have to specify at all.
Wow, that's great. That's amazing.
So how detailed to be there? General essence, character of your spendings. So management, office spendings, materials, work of coordinator, communication management. That's enough for Polish NA at least. For work package, intellectual outputs, so work of experts. That's it, not more. For the work package, dissemination and promotion promotion in different fields, online promotion, organization of conferences, blah blah. So just that, not rental of the room. This mainly for cookies. Now, more questions to that? To the level of being detailed. Maybe in general, the level of detalization of your application is to answer exactly the questions in the application. And they have like one question consists of three. You can, for example, what kind of preparation did you offer for your participants? And they have a bracket, and they task related, linguistic, risk prevention, visa, security, and so on. And they close the bracket, dot. Refer to every single possible, every part of that question, and this is going to be detailed enough. Did I freak you out?
You cannot just like send your like I don't know, your curriculum or something like that in like attached or something. That's what you mean. Like what can you offer the participants when it comes to like training or?
Schedule of the program of the meeting.
Okay.
That's attached. Yeah,
Okay.
That would be great to attach. And there's no new format for that, but in the old formats, which is really still good to keep, they ask for what kind of activities will happen before lunch, after lunch, and in the evening, and what kind of methodologies of transformer education will you use for that. So the activities have to be connected with what aims are their objectives, and methodologies of transformer education.
From what I understand in these cases, if you're generally vague, there is no chance for them to understand what you're doing, so probably they won't like it. If you're specific, you're either specific and right, so that's good for them. You're specific and wrong, and at least they can tell you that why you're wrong. That's how I understand it.
Mm-hmm. Specific and wrong.
Like this methodology, like you can say that we're gonna do a training. What are you gonna do in training? Stuff. Like they don't understand what is the stuff. But if you do, say I will do a training and you will do A, B, C, D, they can at least comment on the A, B, C, D if they think it's appropriate, right?
Oh, they don't have competency to do that.
That doesn't mean they won't try.
No, the matter is not if something is wrong or bad or good. Even if you use wrong methodologies, it's still okay. You have to just justify it, that it is in your opinion, because you're in the field, in your opinion this is the best methodology to use. And even if you're wrong, they will not tell you you're wrong, because they're not overlords of yours. They might say that the methodology is not adapted to the target group, because maybe, I don't know, logic fails. But then, yeah, they...
Yeah, I didn't say correctly. By wrong I meant not what they want to hear.
And what they want to hear is another topic. Because what they want to hear is what they've been trained to expect from beneficiaries of Erasmus+. So the criteria they're looking at it is dictated by Erasmus+. But they are also humans, no? So understanding connections between things or failing to understand is also a thing, even though the plan was beautiful and you didn't explain it enough for the newbie, for example, or people not really related to the topic. That part failed, they don't understand it, so they will say, you didn't write that, so sorry, but no. But I did write that. No. Okay, this much about the detail. Now, how much work for the project should I do before applying for funding? Also depends. Enough to be sure what you want to do and that everybody of your partners know what to do. Collecting, you don't have to do the full research on things that you're expert in, and to collect the data and so on to present it beautifully. You can also, based on your experiences, throw some data and so on, but it may be automatic for you if you're doing what you're doing. It can take one day. But it can take half a year if your partners are demanding and they want to know what to step or they want to contribute more. So yeah, it really depends how much enough for everybody to be satisfied. Horrible answer, I know. Maybe do you have a concrete, I don't know, examples or to elaborate on that?
I don't know, maybe if everybody has an idea of what they're going to do and it's obvious in the application, then maybe that's enough. Like, if you say I'm gonna make something, you cannot have made it already before you get all the everything together. I'm sorry, my brain is not working. My main idea was that if you say I'm making a project to do an activity, and to make the activity I will need to do research on how to do it properly and adapt it to the target group, then you cannot do all of this research before. You have to do some of it to justify that you need to do more.
Okay, I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else understood what they mean,
No,
because I'm not sure
sorry.
anybody.
But we don't have time.
Okay. Let's not make another hammer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Since it's my question again, let me write a more rigid example. Let's say I want to do a key action one youth exchange. Do I need to already have structured all of the activities, all of the plan, and have a group of people already set to come?
yes
Okay.
and no. Ideal situation for youth exchanges is to do it with the people that want to do it, with young people. No? So we are not designing youth exchanges for young people. Young people are giving their ideas, initiative, and so on. That's by the book. No, that's the Bible. That's how the youth exchanges are. That's why they are for. But there are different ways of engaging young people into activities like that, and there are different ways of working with different target groups. No, some young people will not come to you with ideas. Because of many different obstacles or many different reasons, and but they will still benefit from it. So you need to use different methods to engage them. No, and engaging them sounds kind of forbidden in Erasmus Plus. No, so you're like bringing young people to do something for you, but no, the right words would be to encourage, to empower, to encompass with tools to do things and so on. But what you're really doing is engaging them, and this is also right. No, work with certain groups, you know the best methods to do that. So sometimes you design a beautiful thing as a youth exchange with the brackets, with the general structure, not the detailed activity day by day that are designed by young people, and I do that, you do that, and you have 6 people already settled. It can be a general schedule for the topic that you know that will be, that we will have answers to, or you know that there's a demand for that, and you more or less know your profile. Knowing your profile doesn't mean knowing exact people. Profile is it's like a sociological explanation of the social groups. No? So that's you know where what age they are, you know where they live, you know what their life situation is, if they are in school or studying or something else. They know, you know if they are with your opportunities or not, and what kind of, and that's the profile. You describe that, you have people in mind. I have, for example, people in high school of Romer, no? That's enough. You know more or less their profile. They are more or less like good students, let's say, because it's a good high school, but they're coming from different villages from around the town, and you know, for example, the economic situation of the region. So you know about them. No? Even knowing, not knowing exact people who will come, you know that their economic situation, for example, is from a very dramatic to a very well equipped. So you describe that, and so on and so forth. No? So that's good. Is that enough? Because it depends. Also depends on. I think I have it there. So I will go with that because we are on the flow now. And I'll just come back to it. So the profile of young people that you want, or the target groups that you're connecting in the project, it has to be connected with objectives and aims. So if we are doing the project on radicalization, there is a specific target group to work with that. You don't invite generally people from high school, everybody. No, you select the target that is more in the need of this topic. And how do you describe that without stigmatizing it is another topic. Yeah, do you have a concrete example? How do you want to? Because some youth exchanges are okay for general public, but we can specify the target.
I mean, in the guide there are already the setup target groups that Erasmus Plus has set, like risk of radicalization, with less opportunities, and yada yada yada. My question was not as much on the group. The group was used as an example of, do I need to have the 4 sessions for each day already set? Do I need to have an already set up interest by specific individuals? Do I need to already have talked with venues? Okay.
If yes, then perfect. That's an ideal world. If no, then criteria for selection of the space, of the venue, or describing the profile of young people is enough. And when talking about target groups, young people, there's the list of situations, of fewer opportunities that Erasmus Plus is indicating specifically to engage for projects, which doesn't mean that you have to look for those people exactly, but this is a hint for you to understand what is fewer opportunities and how relative it can be in different countries. LGBTQI person in Berlin is not necessarily fewer opportunities in comparison to one living in Rabka. No? So specifying the target groups and describing fewer opportunities and people, you know what I'm talking about, no? We are relating it to relative situations in they're living in. And for example, like medium income is also different in different countries. No? So people with economic disadvantage means something different in Poland and I don't know, somewhere else in Sweden. But yeah, that's a big topic. I'm gonna pause.
I think we also talked about this in the last pool party, no?
Oh, definitely.
About it. It's important.
How to gather ideas? I love that question. I recommend the groups and group brainstorms. So doing that in teams, collecting projects, like doing projects is never a one-person job. No, it's either structure or a group of young people or teams, partners, international partners as well. You need in Erasmus Plus, not all actions. So collect people that are interested in doing what you want to do, and go through the process together of designing, detecting what needs to be done. So the social diagnosis, analysis of different problems, analysis of needs, doing that together, then deciding together on which topics will you focus on, what do you want to exactly achieve, and so on. So yeah, group brainstorm, analysis, lots of beer. Okay. Anything else that comes to your mind before we start? We have 1 hour. Yeah, last meeting was all that on the intro. So I'm keeping those to make sure that they are touched. And let's go with my 5 points. Okay, I'm gonna keep it for now. Okay. First thing before it shows, it's understand the program. So I mentioned that a little when one of those questions were how to say what they want to hear. And that's the question of does your project fit the program, essentially. And I wouldn't recommend stretching the idea too much for the program. If it doesn't fit there, it will fit somewhere else. Or the construction of the idea is also an option, but hiding things in a way that it can fit the program, but then do other things, it's risky. No, even if it makes sense sometimes, being aware of all the risks is has to be there. So, for example, I don't know. Do you have any examples of what would you like to hide? We can pause.
I mean, it depends on the requirements that they might ask of you. That maybe you don't comply, you don't
If they ask for 5 years of experience and you have 4.
for example, yeah.
It's not the case in Erasmus Plus, no worry. But then if it's this clear criteria, no, it's verifiable. If it's vague idea, like, okay, okay, it's big because it's about the core essence of Erasmus Plus. So, for example, some Polish National Agency is sometimes very strict with words, but loses the sense of. That's my interpretation of it. Okay, to the point. Recruitment of participants to youth exchanges. You know it that you will recruit participants to youth exchanges, even though it's not allowed in the program of Erasmus Plus. And you don't make an effort to involve young people to detect their needs in first. You just design whatever you want because you find it interesting. And then you recruit. And this is something that you try to hide in the application. I did that once. Okay, I'm going to say me. I want to hide in the application that I like LARPing, but not everybody does not, or I didn't make an effort because I didn't have time or whatever to ask before or to make that process of consultation or engagement and so on. I want to do LARPing. I'm writing a project about LARPing. That's it. Whoever I'm going to recruit later, and it showed in the way how I was describing the project that we're going to do that or that and that. It showed somehow that I'm thinking about it as if it's a ready-made product where I didn't involve young people. And even though I was writing constantly that young people said that or blah, blah, in between the lines, it was very visible that it's already defined. No, so that kind of risks are there. It got approved. No, there was a comment on it that, oh, it's not clear whether the people exist or not. I lied my ass off. They didn't exist. No. It's not really clear, but methodologies, blah, 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 it's proving, it gives the promise of good project anyway. So it got approved. So risks are there, but yeah. Hello? Yeah, but generally, to understand the program, the first point of project writing, to really know if this fits the program. And there are different programs. We're not talking only about Erasmus Plus and so on. Also in your countries, maybe there are some policy lines that redistribute or share those tasks, public tasks with NGOs, and you can apply for example, supporting entrance of young people into labor market and so on. So if those programs exist and Erasmus Plus follows this logic, they already have some diagnosis made. When they make the program to dedicate a bunch of money to support young people in this and that, they know what for. So there is a program guide always. There's a regulation of the grant program that will that reading it thoroughly will tell you more or less how to understand it. So what kind of results are expected from grant takers, not beneficiaries, how they are formulated, will tell you what they expect from you, and if your idea fits the project or not. And what does it fund? If there are specific formats of projects that they have definition. Erasmus Plus Youth Exchanges has a definition that was developed for 20 years of 30 years of implementing it. So everybody knows what is youth exchange in Erasmus Plus. And if you don't, you have to learn. So we don't invent the wheel in the programs like that are redistributing funds for concrete activity, for concrete stuff with made diagnosis and so on. We have to adjust to what is required. What are expected results? What does it fit to what you want to do? Yeah, that's explored. Is there anything that will not fit Erasmus Plus so drastically that you cannot apply for it through Erasmus Plus? Let me think. Aha! Many years ago, I applied for youth exchange that fulfilled the criteria of youth exchange. So it was based on people's interests. They wanted to come to one place and talk about something that was not in the priorities of Erasmus Plus, interreligious dialogue. We wanted to explore minorities, wanted to talk about religion. No, we want to talk about philosophy connected with religion, and the priority it's always intercultural dialogue. It's always like relations in society, minorities, democracy, this kind of stuff. But we didn't adjust idea of interreligious dialogue to that, and it can have it has links. No, we could have linked it to, let's talk about now situations of religious minorities in Europe, how Europe are protecting them or not protecting, and so on. So connected to Europe somehow. Such easy thing, no? But no, we were fundamental. We said we want to do that. This is the idea of young people. And even though this is the essence of youth exchange, based activities on the ideas of young people, it did not fit the program. I'm gonna post dramatically. Useful hints would be to check terminology. So if they say youth participation, what do they mean by youth participation? And in Erasmus Plus, it's very specific. What does it mean, youth participation? You know? In some definitions, youth participation is very narrow. So young people participating in decision making. In Erasmus Plus, youth participation is young people being active, proactive, in initiating things, being active in doing projects. That's also youth participation. Essentials. So read the guide. Try to understand how the program was constructed, what for, what kind of problems is already this program answering to, so that you can compare if this is the same problems that you are referring to. If yes, perfect. Understand what's the social diagnosis that they stay behind of the grant program. And they really suggest that. No?
They really like when in an application you literally quote the guide in what you write. Like you can take full sentences, just copy paste, they will be happy about it.
And that's great because those are very beautiful sentences. Really well made. Hello? Where am I? Most common mistakes in Erasmus Plus, just to mention them, training versus youth exchanges. So also understanding the terminology in Erasmus Plus means to understand those different formats. So there's mobility of young people, mobilities of youth workers, and training course is for youth workers, not for young people who want to gain some specific skills. Seminars, partnership building activities, contact making seminars, job shadowing, study visits, all that, it has something, it's a thing that has a definition in Erasmus Plus. So applying terminology that belongs to other fields, to youth exchanges, will not work.
There is mobility of trainers, like a youth exchange, but like for trainers. I don't.
Like a youth exchange, but not really with the aims of a youth exchange. Aims of a youth exchange to bring that in one pot is for young people to meet, to integrate, to get to know the world, to discuss the topic of their interest. For youth workers, it's not for their own development, their mobilities. It's for the development of their skills that are applicable in their youth work. So they cannot simply exchange ideas about whatever they think, but it has to be connected to their work. And there's different methodologies to work with young people on that, on exchanging ideas, being and to train youth workers in using concrete tools, methodologies, or discuss concrete topics with working with young people. And this distinction, it's very clear.
But it's not the same as a training course for youth workers. Like it's a different thing, or it's like the same as a training course for
Mobility of youth workers is the training course, one of it.
Okay.
So mobility of youth workers is here, and different kinds of it. Training courses, seminars, partnership building activities, job shadowings, and so on. It's one umbrella. Who are youth workers is also very specific. And we had so many training courses that people that were not youth workers participated in, and it was so visible. Way of thinking, even coming to the training course and knowing that what you're gaining is for your development, which is great, but it's in Erasmus Plus. I talked about it forever. I think it's simply different. I will not elaborate. What are trainings for? Training courses are for youth workers to do better job, and if the training course is not connected to their job, it's pointless. Long story short. What are youth exchanges for, and what does it mean? Participation, we talked about it already. There are different tools to maintain participation. Why don't we recruit? I told. Unless you have questions. I have to spit that.
Another question that is, what is the grey area in recruitment?
What do you think gray area recruitment?
Like, we cannot recruit specifically, but how do we get young people to sign up for this?
Many different ways. What we do is correct. No? We don't have a list of young people in advance, but we have interests collected. We have a group of stowarzyszenie, no? Where many young people are following projects. They want to be connected, they want to apply for different things. So they get hints, what kind of projects are we invited for, and if there's it's something that they would like to participate or not. Once in a while, polls. So what are the topics that you're concerned right now? And there's like different answers. Observations, no? Working with young people in youth centers means knowing them, means knowing their interests, knowing their problems, and so on. Means that you have access to them to sit once in a while, once a month, for an open brainstorm and discussing what kind of topics that they would like to explore during the youth exchange, and then based on that, write projects. Other methods, group-based youth work. There are many different ways of doing youth work. One of it is, for example, create a group that meets every month. Pool party, no? Pool party. Meets once in a while. They have somebody that is moderating that group, one of them maybe, a youth leader, or rotational, or there is a youth worker that is leading the group. And they work on specific topics. So they work with the methods of theater, so they prepare the play or something. Or they have semi-therapy sessions, or group support every month. No? So there's the structures for youth work. So using those structures of youth work to work with young people, no? To collect their interests, to know their needs, means doing good projects on the international level. No? And there's nothing wrong in recruiting when we have dropouts. We have 1 spot left, we have 2 spots left, all the group resigned, and we have a project already, we open up recruitment. This is also even allowed by the National Agency of Poland.
But by saying we allow recruitment is like, do we put the ad in Salto, or like what do you mean? Like,
On Salto, no. On Salto, there's offers only for youth workers, and that's very, very often misunderstood. People that are not youth workers are having accounts on Salto to hunt good projects.
Many people are represented by your organization without you knowing for some reason.
Yeah. So recruit means putting openly on your Facebook fan page or Instagram, hey, we're looking for 3 people for this youth exchange, just join. You don't have any influence on what is going on there, or everything is already prepared, you just join. That's something that is not an only spirit of Erasmus+, but if we're collecting the group, because we are applying for projects, or the project is already more or less defined, but we have plenty of space to co-create it, to shape it, and we invite you to do it with us. That's not the recruitment. That's invitation to collaborate, no? So yeah, it might not be very clear division between what's what, no, but we know what is the spirit of it. So leaning towards engaging people actively in creating youth exchanges is the right way. If we just neglect it and we invite you for a ready-made product, we should know that this is not the spirit. And it shows later, no? But people participate differently in the ready-made product and in something that they co-created. Important. What are the youth exchange? Who's youth leader and who's facilitator? That's also something that the terms that were conceptualized quite recently, relatively. And fun fact, some employers of national agency have no idea what's the difference. And I even heard it in the webinars. That was such a shame. So yeah, who's facilitating? From 2021 to the youth exchange budget, they added a budget line to pay for facilitator. Before that, there was nothing like that. There were just youth leaders. At least one youth leader has to be in the youth exchange, no? With at least 4 people. There can be more youth leaders, but the youth leaders were those who opened the days, said first things like welcome everybody, because somebody has to. No? So those were usually youth leaders. But the function of a youth leader and facilitator is slightly different. They finally recognized it in the program officially by adding the budget line for facilitator, because it's quite a job, no? To moderate the process, even of the youth exchange that has to be managed by young people, moderated by young people, full of young people, and so on. And the youth leaders don't have to be necessary facilitators. So what's the difference? A function of a youth leader? Do you know maybe? Or how do you feel? What's the difference? You have a headache? All good?
Youth leaders are people who, first of all, need to support the youth at a practical level, be there for them, be them when they need them, help them with anything to be able to participate more actively. And they also co-create with the other youth leaders the sessions in a youth exchange.
The last one, they not necessarily have to.
Yeah, it's not obligatory, but it's one practice.
So their function is to support young people. So they don't, not necessarily, they have to design sessions, they have to facilitate workshops. Because in the youth exchange, those can be young people that are doing that. And youth leaders' role is to support them in that. It's not the case for every youth exchange. Sometimes only youth leaders are facilitating the sessions, and that's also fine. And as long as young people have space for active participation, sharing their things and be active and so on, so they're not listening like you to me now. And facilitator can be an additional person, for example, from the hosting organization, who's opening the youth exchange, saying welcome, and being there to react on things, or to moderate the reflection groups if it's needed, and so on, or to facilitate, no? So to moderate the process in a way that it happens. And sometimes youth leaders, when they were focused on supporting the group, the facilitation function was there missing, no? So there's a chaos at the youth exchanges, and that's very often experiences from my youth. Because like this is the person that keeps the order, let's say, and makes sure that things are happening. It can be the same person. One of the youth leaders can be a facilitator. For example, the hosting one, usually the hosting one, traditionally, but not necessarily.
I would also add, with keeping the order, more importantly, keep giving structure.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard for most people to just self-organize into structure.
Yeah, that's more and more difficult for young people to self-organize. And that's actually the research results we did lately. Do I have time for that? Ask me later. What's wrong with you? No, nothing's wrong. Yeah, and important is that those things are changing. So the role of a facilitator was not in the program a couple of years ago. Right now it is. So right now the facilitator means something different than the youth leader. No, before we thought that the youth leader is facilitating, and then those things are changing. No, so being updated with the program, another golden point. And haha, NA sometimes doesn't know. Examples. In exchange, they hire trainers. If you see that sentence, you know that people have no idea what they're talking about. City games for trainings. It's happening sometimes, no? But when I got feedback that city game is not a good methodology for trainers because they're having too much fun. And trainings are not for that. Not for education as methodology description. So when you have timetable of different workshops, and then you describe, we will use not from education, but what methodology of not from education, no? There's no methodology, not from education is not a methodology, a form of learning, no? It's bigger than methodology. So you're describing what kind of methodologies you're using. And saying things like, those kind of, yeah, probably people don't know what they're talking about. And that's kind of visible signs for it. And yay! Great example, mine. No, this was do you know the program Discover EU Inclusion Action? That's new. What?
I've been advertising it as much as I can. Isn't it the one for the people 18 who just turned 18, who get budget to travel around Europe for, remind me how long?
A month. Up until. Yeah. But Inclusion Action is a specific format of projects that organizations can do. So not only 18 years olds applying for themselves, but organizations are supporting those young people, those 18 years olds, who for sure, for themselves, from their own initiative, they would never apply. From having different barriers to that. Complete lack of access to information. People from areas that I don't know, there's no internet, or disability doesn't allow them to check information, or no access to information, so they will never know about it. Or people that will be hesitant to apply due to their big disadvantages, like this fear from I don't know, anything, no, or disabilities, or bigger things that can be overcome by giving information. No, they need more support in participation, so they need the person, structure, organizations that will, for example, go with them on that trip. And that's kind of this. No, we applied for that because I wanted to try how it works. So I was guessing what they expect from this project because the instructions were very vague. So what I got from it is that the whole program aim is not for young people to go travel Europe and learn about European Union or be organizing them their own trips, but this Inclusion Action particularly, it's specifically for people with bigger disadvantages to make them more autonomous, independent, and resourceful, resilient, and so on. So this action is directed on them and not their learning outcomes of the educational program. And I got it right. No, they were like, oh, no. And this was not written anywhere. No, it was a spirit of the program. So that would be a good example of understanding the program. And we are in the first point. Let me speed up. And again, youth exchanges are more or less similar in a way. They're not really for young people to learn about intercultural dialogue if the topic of it is intercultural dialogue. They don't really have to. The point of it is for them to get to know opinions of other people, to integrate and to learn a diversity of opinions, not necessarily the topic of their youth exchange. And that's very often misunderstood also from the side of the young people. They should I tell it? Yeah.